My agency has generated over $7 million in qualified sales pipeline for our B2B clients. And in this video, I'm going to share our 3 best Google Ads tips for B2B companies to help them drive a ton of sales pipeline and generate a positive ROI from their Google Ad spend. So the first tip to help you drive more sales pipeline from your Google Ad strategy is to get clear on which keywords are actually consistently driving qualified sales meetings. So what we found is that typically a lot of companies, B2B companies, are bidding on 30, 50, upwards of 100 keywords at a time. But when we pulled the data from the past couple months, what we find is that typically there's a very small subset of keywords that are consistently driving qualified sales opportunities. So you might be familiar with Pareto's principle, which is, 20% of your marketing strategy is generating 80% of your results. Well, it's the same concept with Google Ads. Typically 20%, sometimes even less, sometimes even it can be 1 to 3 keywords are driving all of your sales pipeline and revenue. And what you want to do is you want to be able to have the reporting infrastructure to understand that and really focus all your efforts on those keywords that are driving the results for your business. So the way we do that with our clients is almost all of our clients are using HubSpot as their marketing automation platform. And what HubSpot does, which is so amazing, is it not only shows you how many conversions you're getting from Google Ads and by what keyword, but who are those people? Who is the specific content that converted on those keywords? Are they the right job titles? Are they the right companies? And are they progressing down your funnel? Are they taking sales meetings? Are they entering your sales pipeline? Are they becoming customers? So what you can do with HubSpot is you can really measure your performance and what's actually driving the metrics that matter to your business. If you're only looking at the Google Ads account, you'll be able to see the number of conversions that are generated by what keyword, but you have no insight into who those people are. Are they quality leads? And are they actually generating revenue for your business? So the way to find your best performing keywords is to first obviously set up a tool like HubSpot. But then what you want to do in HubSpot is export all of your paid search contacts, filter out the companies that became sales opportunities from paid search. And then you want to create a pivot table in Excel to really see how many ops are generated by which keyword. And what you're going to find, I guarantee it, is you're going to find just a handful of keywords that actually generated sales meetings. And you're probably going to identify 1 to 3 that are driving almost 80% of all your sales ops. And so what you want to do is very simply cut all those keywords that are not performing at all and focus all of your budget and effort on optimizing the keywords that are driving results. So B2B Google Ads tip number 2 is to focus your bidding on high intent keywords. So what are high intent keywords? High intent keywords are search terms that people search for that indicate that they're actively looking to evaluate your service, solution, or software. And so the best way I can describe it is by giving you the example on the screen, which is 2 keywords that have different intent. So the first keyword is content marketing, right? The second keyword, content marketing software. And these, if people are searching these 2 keywords, they actually indicate where they're at in the funnel. So if someone's searching content marketing, it's actually a really low intent keyword. More likely than not, they could be searching for a host of different answers, right? What is content marketing? How to do content marketing best practices. They're not indicating that they're in market for a software solution. So the likelihood of them converting to want to talk to your sales team about your service, your product, or if it is a software solution is so low because they're in that educational phase. They're not yet ready to buy a service yet. So take the example of the keyword content marketing software. This is someone who's actively researching content marketing software solutions, right? They're indicating that they're interested in learning more about software solutions to help with this problem. So it's a high intent keyword. It's obvious that they're farther down the funnel, and the likelihood of them converting and actually wanting to purchase your product, talk to a salesperson, have a sales conversation is much higher. So what we found is these high intent terms, because people are indicating that they're farther down the funnel, convert at a much higher rate. And this applies not only to software keywords, it applies to services, to B2B products. Finding these high intent terms is going to be the key to getting results quickly. So the way you find these high intent terms is by doing 4 steps. So the first is using a keyword research tool. We use Ahrefs internally, but you can use SEMrush, Moz, Ahrefs. You can even use the Google Keyword Planner. And what you want to do is you want to plug in relevant URLs that are going to uncover all the high intent search terms in your audience. So a great place to start is review sites. So if review sites tend to dominate SEO for all the high intent terms. So if you have a G2 or Capterra page for your service, that's a great place to plug in. Trustpilot, Clutch if you're an agency or a service provider, or even Yelp. These review sites are designed to dominate SEO. So more often than not, if you plug these into a keyword research tool and it's for a category that you fit into, you're going to find all the relevant high intent terms right there. The second thing is plugging in your competitors, right? So your direct competitors are more often than not also ranking organically for a lot of these high intent terms. So you're going to find a lot of insights by seeing what your competitors are ranking for. And if they're ranking for it and they're high intent, more often than not, that's probably where you should be as well. The last thing is you want to look at your own URL. A lot of times companies are already ranking organically on the first, second, and third page for high intent terms that they should be showing up for. And if Google is already putting your website on the front pages of those search terms, more often than not, it's for reasons because they believe that that is where people are searching for your solution. So once you've gone through these different URLs, the next thing you want to do is you want to filter for high intent terms. For software companies, it's app, tool, platform, software. For services businesses, it's services, vendor, solution, company, agency. And for products and wholesalers, it can be things like suppliers, vendors, bulk flour provider. These are the type of search terms that indicate that someone is actually looking for a vendor, right? And not just educational content on a certain topic. It also indicates that they're probably a business, right? Because they're searching for business solutions to help them solve their problem. And the last thing you want to do is just check for the relevance of the keyword. So you really want to feel confident that those keywords really describe what you do. So for example, if you're a construction contract management software, if someone's searching construction software, I wouldn't feel confident that someone is actually searching for your solution. They could be searching for a host of different types of solutions within that industry. So what you really want to do is you want to look at the keyword and you really want to ask yourself, if someone searched this and they came to my website, would I be 100% confident that they'd be satisfied with that search? If the answer is yes, you want to bid there. If not, you probably want to avoid it because you're just going to waste money. Google Ads B2B tip number 3. Make sure you are showing up for the correct search terms. Now, this might sound obvious, but the truth is just because you bid on a keyword, it doesn't mean that you actually show up when someone searches that exact phrase in Google. So based on your match type, the match types you're using, it's actually going to determine how closely you relate to the keyword that you're bidding on. So for example, here on the screen, you see like the keyword someone's bidding on for crypto advertising. Well, depending on the match type, they could show up for all different types of search terms, right? That people are searching crypto advertising platform, crypto advertising Super Bowl, crypto advertising regulations, right? And these are completely different searches, right? So if you were a crypto advertising platform, right, you'd be showing up for all these other search terms that have nothing to do with what you're offering. And if I'm being honest, this example right here is simplistic and it's usually much worse when I go into Google Ads accounts. So based on the match type you're using, it's going to determine how closely you show up for that search term. And so there's 3 match types, keyword match types you can be using: broad, phrase, and exact. Exact match is the tightest form of match types. So it's going to most closely align with the search term you're bidding on. But it's going to limit the volume that you show up for. And broad is on the other side. It's going to say, hey, anything that you think relates to this topic, Google, have me show up for. So you're going to show up for a lot more volume, a lot more potential keywords, but it's going to be much more variable in terms of what you show up for. And phrase is in the middle, right? It's really just including that phrase term that you're bidding on. And so what we have found is that using broad match is typically a recipe for showing up for a ton of irrelevant search terms. And what we found is when people do broad match, they end up spending a ton of money on search terms that have nothing to do with their business. So what we recommend is a few things. The first is use phrase and exact match to start. Start with phrase match, see what comes up. And what you want to be doing is you want to be monitoring the search terms religiously, like almost every day. And if the search terms are really close to what you're offering, then you're on the right track. And what you want to do is you want to negative match frequently, which essentially is whenever a search term shows up that you say, okay, that is not relevant to my business, you negative match it and basically tell Google, hey, stop showing up for this term or phrase. If the search terms report is showing you all over the place with all irrelevant search terms, then you want to tighten to exact match, right? And really make sure you're spending all your money on the terms that matter to your business. And the second part is you want to bid manually to start. So until you get qualified conversions and you're feeding Google the right data to indicate what a good conversion looks like for you, you want to go manual, or else Google is going to optimize for quantity over quality. And what we found is when people turn this on immediately without the right data, they end up showing up for just all this random crap, getting all these leads that are not qualified for their business. And it just leads to a lot of wasted spend. So in summary, those are my 3 best tips for B2B companies on how to drive more sales pipeline from Google Ads. And these are probably the three most impactful things that helped us drive $7 million in qualified sales pipeline in the last 3 years. Using these strategies are super effective, but if you don't have the data infrastructure in place to measure your performance by quality and understand what's driving pipeline, none of this is going to matter. So watch this video on how to properly set up HubSpot to Google Ads and connect it correctly so you can get that infrastructure in place to actually implement these strategies.